Welcome to the Wealth Wave podcast. My name is Caleb Salman. I'm the co-founder of Jara Capital, and I'm here with my fellow co-founder Toyib. What's going on, my brother?
I'm doing all right, my brother Caleb. Man, it's been a year. We're at the end. It's the last Sunday of the year. Can you guys believe it? But yeah,
Yes.
we're grateful.
Right.
And we're very
right.
excited to, definitely have a great guest with us today, Ayo. What's going on, Ayo?
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing today? I'm very
Doing
happy
well,
that we
doing
actually
well.
kind of saw December together. We just started this early this year, and look at us now, right? So we
Exactly.
thank God for it.
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
know,
sir. Well, we thank you for making the time to join the podcast. We have been MIA for the past, how many months now? About
4 or
4 to 6
5
months
months,
now,
yeah.
due to some, interesting tax for us in terms of Jara Capital and also family matters. So we've not been consistent, but we promise to definitely keep that momentum for next year. So we wanted to bring this podcast to our audience, the end of year review, where we will talk to you guys about some of our predictions
Yep.
and some of our review of best winners and the biggest losers in each category. So
I will say,
this podcast, yeah,
I will even say they were all good problems. I just wanted to
Yes.
to kind of add that in there. It's like, they were all good problems on why we're delayed.
All great
but,
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully, I know that lots of our audience have been looking for us to give them some analysis and some thoughts of what's going on in the economy, real estate. So we definitely want to make sure that we stay consistent in that. So with that, I wanted to say that this podcast will be much more, not more of a conversation. It's just going to be more of us giving some basic answers to some questions that we have around politics, economy, and also real estate. So it's going to be a quick, rapid fire, 90 seconds or less, where we give our thoughts on some few questions about the best, winners and losers in each category. Without much further ado, I wanted to start with, obviously, we wanted to start with politics because we recently concluded the elections about a month ago or two. Yeah, a month. It's crazy how time flies. And so the first question for you, Ayer, is going to be, who was the 2024 biggest political winner
Oh,
to you?
I mean, this would be funny because I was thinking he's not even in politics, but I would say Elon Musk was probably the biggest winner here on everything. But if we were to go strictly on politics, it's definitely going to be Trump. He had serious adversities in front of him, on top of all the felonies and all the charges and all that kind of stuff that was going on. He still got the chance to still run and win at the same time. So even though a lot of people might not like him, he's a big chance. He's going to be a great example in history on
Yes.
no matter how much things are actually hitting you, you still can get it, so he's definitely a big winner. But if we were to kind of go in general from that from the political side of things, I will say Elon Musk for sure. And then I'll put Trump as
Elon
number
Musk.
2. Yep.
Wonderful. Elon Musk for Ayo. Tell what about yourself?
Okay, maybe it's something about wearing black that's got Ayo wants to be in my head, but I literally have down here just one word, Elon, right, as the biggest political winner for 2024. Just by the numbers, the man spent $277 million in this presidential election, doing everything he can to get Trump elected. And this is a guy who was a huge supporter of the Democratic Party before, and then he fell out with that side, and now he's on the other side. He spends $277 million to get Donald Trump and the Republican Party elected. Now he's able to create it. Now he's part of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. He's not even an elected official, right? So you have presidential level influence without being elected. It doesn't get better than that. And his net worth, I looked at the beginning of the year versus now, he's up $200 billion more. So think about that. You spent $277 million, and now you're $200 billion richer. You have presidential level influence without being an elected official. Life doesn't get better at this point for him, right? It's such a huge winner. A lot of people are going to disagree on his path and how he got here, but there's no doubt that he was the biggest winner coming out of this year.
Great ROI.
Wonderful. So we got to, yeah, definitely. So I guess we have two Elons. So I went the other direction. I went with populist nationalist movement was the biggest political winner. Obviously, if you look at across the globe, whether it's Canada right now with Justin Trudeau facing some uprising in his government, or whether it's Emmanuel Macron who has lost some parliamentary seats and he's trying to fight to entrench his power there, or whether it's Javier Milei who might not be looked at as a as a conservative, but he's like a libertarian, smaller government kind of guy. You're seeing that spread across everywhere, and even America as well. It was the rise of the middle class, repudiating against the oligarchs or big government. So I think populist nationalism, pride of country, was the same. To me, was the biggest winner in 2024. Awesome. So let's get to number two. Number two,
on the geopolitics side, I see that. I see where you go.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So the biggest political loser of 2024. Let's start with with Toyib.
Okay, so I went on the opposite side, right? This is an easy one for me as well, and unfortunately, it was Joe Biden. There was such, I think, if you think back to like the 2021 election or 2020 election that got Joe Biden in, right? There was this energy and enthusiasm that a lot of people came out. We saw record voter turnout, right? And he won by, certainly a significant margin against Trump. People want to debate those numbers, but that's fine. You fast forward to really 2024, mid-year 2024, right? Your approval rating is now low 30s. I just looked at the latest Gallup numbers, shows them at right now like 39% approval rating. There was this consensus, not just from the Republican Party that, hey, Trump is going to be able to beat Biden easily, but then you felt that internally within your own party. And when your own folks, and you saw, I remember George Clooney writing that op-ed saying, hey, you need to step aside. And there was reports that he had spoken to Obama about this before going there, and Obama gave him the go ahead to write that. That is a strong statement when your own former president and your teammate was willing to come in and step in and say, hey, you really need to step aside. Like, you're going to lose this election for us. And I have never seen that in my own lifetime of a sitting presidential candidate or president sitting stepping out of the election just 3 months to go with the support of your own party. I think that spoke to a sign of how much intensity there was against him, the opposition, that hey, you have no chance of winning. And the result also showed with Trump winning the majority or the popular vote, the first in 20 years. It was a full to use your word, repudiation of, I think, overall the current administration, and we saw that. So Biden, I don't know if history is going to look favorable on this last year for him.
That's interesting. That's a great pick, by the way. Ayo.
Well, for
biggest
me,
political loser.
Well, for me, I kid you not, I was dabbling between this two. I actually had Obama and Kamala Harris, but I will, I love Obama to death, and people know that, but I will say Obama, right? And one of the reasons why I'm really going for Obama was the fact that he really kind of put in so much work, and it was a great investment on his side to try to bring back the Democratic Party into recognition when it comes to this situation. Though, it was an uphill battle, but he's been here before, twice actually, and he did it, and he persevered. But in this situation, I will call him the biggest loser because he really worked hard. I mean, he was working so hard, I was thinking he was the one that's running for president at one point, because he really put in all that work. And then at the end of the day, you could tell he knew where people's beliefs were going. And he was trying so hard to change that, even though he was limited with time. I see him being the biggest loser because of the amount of investment he really put in, with the chance that, if he had time, he probably would have turned it, but still couldn't. I mean, he put your best foot forward, but I felt like he's the biggest loser. Kamala Harris, of course, she lost what she lost, but yeah,
that's
Obama would be mine.
So we have, so we have a Joe Biden for Toyib. We have Kamala Harris for Ayo. For me, I picked the wokeness. And wokeness in that political sense that if you look in the U.S. context, and I don't know about other, geopolitical perspective, but in America alone, there was a huge rejection of the wokeness culture. For example, whether it's DEI initiative or ESG, like we had companies like Walmart, Ford, Harley Davidson, John Deere, Caterpillar, all were like, guys, what are we doing here? We have to hire based on merit and based on meritocracy. And I think obviously there's a huge debate around, I think the argument that Nathan Takim made was around, do not judge me based on the content of my skin, by the content of my character, that kind of. I think that you see that, definitely rising up to the top, and I see companies moving forward, potentially just scrapping up those, DEI organizations or even for example ESG, like how do you measure, sustainability? The governance portion of it makes sense, but sustainability, how do you track green efficiency in the supply chain, whether this company is ESG, whatever. So I think that is where I'm seeing, but I think what actually broke the camel's back was when, there's a popularity around biological males and women's sports, where everybody was like, guys,
that's always a contentious topic for now.
So I think wokeness is definitely it's definitely in the path of dying. I'm not sure if it's dead yet, but I see that phasing out.
I know. I believe that. Next topic, but guys, we've been around long enough, and I think for me, it's hard for me to say that, and I get your point, Caleb. Right now, I agree. Maybe it's at an all-time low, but I've seen these things swing. I feel like they constantly swing, right? And we're gonna have, because you remember, even though pre-George Floyd, nobody was really talking about the DEI and all that stuff as much, and then we saw this huge swing from the corporate side of, hey, how do we help invest in some of these underserved communities? Now maybe we're seeing kind of, hey, we've gone too far, let's swing back again. And I'm not going to be surprised. And 5, 7, 10 years again, we're seeing another rise on this, call it that side of the spectrum. So these things swings overall.
I'm sure we could definitely go in depth with DEI later. But it's always very interesting, especially in our capitalist country, where we would initiate something kind of like a diversity stuff, and then that's when the diversity becomes the worst, right? It's like but it's going to be something we'll get into. But you're absolutely right. I do agree with you that the wokeism side is definitely.
I mean, for this year, that's why I said this year. I think for me this year it was the biggest loser.
Right.
Well, let's go to the 2024's biggest business winner. I guess I'll go first since I guess everyone. So I was debating between Nvidia and Tesla, because obviously Tesla has just been like Toyi mentioned, it's just been like through the roof in terms of the stock market going up since they won the election. But I think I'll probably if I have to pick one, I have to pick Nvidia because of the the rise of artificial intelligence and also GPUs and companies looking to dominate that market. I think Nvidia right now owns about 98% of the the GPU market, infrastructure layer portion of it. Obviously, if you add Google to it, it drops down to 78%, according to Dylan Patel, who's an amazing software or semiconductor analyst in the space. And I love Jensen. I mean, obviously, the compound. I know Toyib's an investor of Nvidia. He read his beak on that. He made a lot of money. So that's my biggest winner. I like the leadership of Jensen. His philosophy is all about only the power not survives, and the rate at which you're churning out new chipset. I think just yesterday or 2 days ago, on December 25th, they released a new chipset for the market. So they keep releasing it. Like the pace at which they're releasing new products is very outstanding. So with this speed, I think I can see them dominating for the next 5 years. So that's my biggest winner. Let's go to Ayo, your biggest business winner for 2024.
This is very interesting. I think Toyi was the one that actually got me to notice this company, and then I went into a deep rabbit hole with them, and it's the company called Zoox. So I think they're the biggest winner, and I think they're just scratching the surface with what they're actually doing. So if you actually check out Zoox, I think it's X. I would type it. I would definitely
ZOOX.
ZOOX. There we go. I believe they're the biggest winners because they ended up kind of like not only competing with Waymo, which is actually big right now, but they actually kind of got, Elon Musk off his seat to be able to bring out a cab car like this year before, before the year is even done, kind of doing that because I believe transportation is one of those biggest things that hasn't been really disrupted yet in the industry, and kind of creating those autonomy where people might not even want to own a car anymore because this things would just be driving everywhere is really a big thing. So I've been looking into Zooks a lot, and I think once AI coming here is just like it's like putting a rocket or engine behind them to be able to kind of move as fast as possible. And I think Zooks is my biggest winner really with what they're doing in the design, because there's one of no other of their design right now in their vehicle. So I do like Zooks. I've been thinking. I'm telling you, I've been thinking about
that space.
I might buy a lot of their stocks too.
Zeus is owned by Amazon, so please double down.
Yeah.
Buy some more Amazon shares so my stock can go up.
Right. But I mean, huge players in the auto industry and transportation. I'm super fascinated by there. But I guess similar to first round where it was me and Ayo that was matching with the answers. This side, I'm on the other side, and it's me and Caleb that've got the same answer because undisputed, in my opinion, in 2024 that Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, and NVIDIA was the number one biggest business winner, right? They are the undisputed leader in AI chip manufacturing right now. I mean, they are just blowing the entire market away. You look at just also the stock performance this year, which was compounded from what it did last year, up 184% year to date. I believe it's the second best performer in the S&P 500 this year. Jensen's net worth has skyrocketed well over $100 billion, which is amazing for this guy, and he's having a moment. And there's really two stories I think that really highlighted kind of where we are for this company. One, there was a story from Larry Ellison, right, the founder of Oracle, where he talks about Larry Ellison and Elon Musk. They took Jensen out for dinner. They was having dinner, and he said during dinner they were both practically, Elon and Larry were practically begging Jensen to please take our money and prioritize our companies for the receivement of your chips as they're being manufactured. It's like, we can't make these chips fast enough because the customer and the demand is skyrocketed, and they're taking him to lunch. And right, what's the last time somebody begged you to take your money? That's how you know you have a product. When people, when some of these respected technologists are bringing you to dinner and they're literally begging you to take their money. And I think also, the success, while there's been huge hype on what AI can be, and we're seeing some of that experience on OpenAI, it also reflects back to, if you all think about the 1850s California gold rush, where, the news of gold spread like wildfire. So many gold miners came down to California, and they were all digging for gold, trying to make their money there. But the true success, coming out of that was, it was the entrepreneurs who were supplying the picks, the shovels, the infrastructure that these gold miners needed to be able to dig out the gold that really won. And in some ways, that's where a lot of people are seeing NVIDIA today. Hey, you're the one that's really producing the underlying infrastructure. You're producing the chips. Who are going to be the biggest winner in AI with their software and what they might create? Who knows? But ultimately, you're just serving everybody overall. You're serving the Amazons, the Googles, the Metas, the Teslas, Salesforce, so many of these different players. You're underlining, and you got a huge runway. So NVIDIA is the big winner this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I know people are saying that it's overvalued if you look at the price to earnings ratio, or if you look at the dividend yield. But I think given the amount of the performance of those chips, and also the rate at which, I think Moore's law, they say, it doubles every 2 years. I'm not sure what it doubles every 2 years or something. Now, Jensen is telling his team that, guys, I want you to produce new chips every 6 months. So if you're a company like AMD, like the CEO of AMD, Lisa Su, I mean, how are you going to catch up? Because you need engineers. That unit of capital, of engineers, human capital, those are very expensive to get. So it's like, what do you do? Like, do you buy another company? Do you do M&A to catch up with Nvidia, or do you like? It's going to be interesting how this is going to play out. But another company I'm also keeping track of is Broadcom. I think Broadcom have the scale, and also they bought a VMware as well to help them with that. So and they're up year to date 120% this year, and Nvidia's up 170% this year. So it's going to be interesting how those two companies shape up. And
no, I agree. Yeah. You know, it must have been last month or something. I was thinking about it, like, you know, if he keeps bringing out new chips, like, where does it stop? Like, you know, where do you say? Because, you know, it's kind of like, you know, when phones first came out, right? I'm gonna use iPhone as a great one. Look, I have an iPhone as well. You know, after a while, it's like they start looking the same. And it just kind of seemed like there aren't really changes, but just minor features and stuff like that. I'm kind of figuring out, like, where does it stop? Like, you know, like where do you say to yourself the innovation? Because if you're trying to innovate every 6 months, right? Yeah, it's gonna anyway. My mind is I'm caffeinated, but it's just gonna be like, where does that, you know?
Yeah, and
where do you?
I think I think we're still far from that point, though, right? Like the demand is still high, and now maybe to your point, maybe each new release is not as a step function breakthrough that maybe other ones have, but we're still very early in this game, and Jensen's he's a visionary. He has his eye on the prize, and he knows this is not the time to rest.
That's true. I guess now that we have quantum computers too, that might probably help out with that too. But
that'll be interesting, especially with Google's available. But I think if you look at with this AI stuff, I think the reason why Jensen is a little bit paranoid is he knows that the FANG stock, like the Facebooks of the world, they have the data. Right now, you need data to train those large language models. That's why he's right now building a SaaS component to it. Because he knows that at some point Amazon as it vended a LLM model, new chip. Google is building. Facebook has a Llama, whatever. I forgot it. Llama 2 something. So his main competitor might be not necessarily AMD or Broadcom. It's going to be the company with the huge sums of the Googles of the world, because they have the ability to train those data to make it more efficient. And get it better. So it's going to be very exciting. Who the winners are going to be, and the new startup winners as well. Let's move to the next one, which is the 2024 biggest business loser. Biggest business loser. Let's start with Ayo.
They I will say Party City. I don't know if you guys hear about Party City situation.
Party City went bankrupt. Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, I believe Party City is just a scratch. Next year, I believe the first quarter we might see a lot more similar to that. You know, where AI is really taking businesses out. Well, I'll just say old businesses and kind of revamping them, and they're the biggest losers. Companies that refuse to grow, right? Or find a way to evolve. Party City is definitely the biggest one to me. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people really do depend on Party City.
I love Party City.
Exactly. Like after a while now, Amazon would be happy that Party City is out of business, but you know, the idea that you could drive over somewhere and grab something quick is gone now, right? So now you're more dependent on Amazon and delivery systems. But I will say Party City is the biggest loser for not trying to evolve when he could pretty much kind of see the writing on the wall. I mean, it happened to Toys R Us. You should have seen that coming, you know, and you kind of had the same model similar to that. You should have tried to, you know, change, but they just never did. And I think it was a bad move what they actually did, but still, especially in regards to employment. But Party City is my biggest loser. There's no way in hell I was gonna get anybody above them or below them.
No, really. That's a good one, man. I love Party City. That was my store for birthdays, and quickly grab the balloons and that. So it is.
That thing has saved my butt many times.
Exactly.
You know? It saved me from like having dinner in my house. Because, you know, my wife would be like, did you get X, Y, and Z? I'd be like, yeah, I did. It's the lies that I'm telling, because I know I'm about to run Party City. You know?
Exactly.
You know? So it's they're definitely the biggest loser. But we'll feel it, though. I'll be honest.
Toy.
Yeah, so for me,
Let's
right,
take it.
similar to what I did on the, if I look at, hey, if I see somebody's the biggest political winner, then I look at the inverse of, well, who are they really losing to?
Right.
I took the same route when I was looking at who's the biggest business winner versus who's the biggest business loser. So for me, in the biggest loser space, it was Intel. And it's Intel
Ah.
Yeah.
because if you think about Intel, this is a Silicon Valley juggernaut company. I mean, growing up, so many 80s, 90s. Hey, to say I work at Intel means you was at the cutting edge of technology. You was working at a reputable company. You was an innovator. Like people wanted to go work in this place. You were a leader in your space. And now you see where they are today, where one earlier this year they did a 15% layoff for
Mhm.
right across the company, which is built already on the other layoffs that they've done over the years. The stock is down almost 60%. You're losing market share to AMD and Nvidia, who have
Mm-hmm.
just been able to come in and really establish themselves as the leader in AI and chip manufacturing. And they've lost the investor confidence. And I know, listen, as an employee, if you're working at a company where you used to be a leader and now you're seeing all these change, it defeats your morale. It makes it harder to even want to get up. You feel like the
Yeah.
Caleb was just talking about how the market share,
Mm-hmm.
how Nvidia has 98% market share in the AI chip space. You
Mhm.
start to lose confidence in yourself, and the thing about great talents is they start to leave and they start to go for the competitors. So you
Mm-hmm.
can so it becomes hard to even retain some of these good employees. Their CEO was forced to retire earlier this year. They haven't been able to capitalize on the AI boom. It's really been a tough time for Intel, and they've had a really tough year. So if I see Nvidia as my biggest winner, Intel right now is my biggest loser.
Wonderful. So we have Party
Interesting.
City with AO, Intel with
Party
Toib, and
City.
for me, exactly. For me, I went with Boeing. I think Boeing
Ah,
is an interesting company because obviously there are two duopolies. We have Boeing and we have Airbus. And Boeing this year, just a few highlights. So this year, their net orders fell to 370 planes, which is valued at $30.4 billion. But most of the issues was around safety and quality control, a crisis. For example, was earlier in this year, their 737 MAX was grounded for 2 years following two fatal crashes, experiencing grounding in 2024. Also, they had some manufacturing issues as well that they had to help resolve respect to the production lines, revealing non-compliance issues related to the quality controls and the parts handling, and there was a lot of leadership churn. Today you have David Calhoun leaving the company, another person coming in. So they've I mean, do I believe they're going to come back? They better, because it's a national security for United States. But I think for me, if you look at the biggest business loser, I'll say Boeing, because their stock market also
yeah.
plummeted as well. So they need to get this thing together before it becomes too late.
Can I just touch on that
Mhm.
real quick for
Yeah,
Caleb?
yeah.
Because
I
you
mean,
you hit a
you're
you
manufacturing,
yeah
so
you hit a sore spot for me,
I
and
was
you
about
hit
to
a sore
say.
spot for me because like my undergraduate degree is in mechanical and
hmm
aerospace engineering.
yeah.
I grew up I like in 2012, 2013 when I was looking to break into the aerospace industry. When I tell you Boeing is it's the what is it? It's the child. It's
Golden
the
child.
light.
Yeah.
It's a golden child.
Yeah.
It's
Golden
what you
child.
any engineer coming in, anybody who wanted to work in the aerospace industry, we all look up to Boeing. Hey, if
Yep.
Boeing
hmm
had given me a job, I would be in Seattle. I would be there, easily move anybody. I didn't care. In fact, I remember 2014, I went to the NSBE National Society of Black Engineers, which I strongly recommend for any of my folks in the
Right.
engineering field. And right, you all these companies will come out to recruit. And as an engineer, as a young engineer in the aerospace field, I really wanted to work for Boeing. When I tell you, Boeing had the longest line of engineers just standing in
hmm
line waiting to come around. It was around the block. And I changed my mind. I said, you know what? I'm not going to wait in the line. I need to go talk to other companies. So I
Yeah.
never got to work for Boeing. But it just tells you how important this company is, how it's viewed by a lot of engineers and a lot of young engineers
hmm
like myself back then to where it is today. It is certainly disappointing because listen, the aerospace industry, you've just mentioned, we only really have two large aircraft manufacturers, Boeing and Airbus.
Yeah.
Those are really your top two. Boeing, we have to do anything we can to help rescue Boeing because it's
We have
huge.
to.
It's a super important company, both on the private and, to your point, on the government side. So
Yeah.
it's disappointing to see what's going on. They have a new CEO. Hopefully, they can turn it around. But um, it's sad to see where with the current state for sure.
Definitely. Wonderful. So Party City for Ayo, Intel for Toib and Boeing.
Yeah.
Next question is 2024 biggest real estate winner. Toib, wanna take
I
that?
will take it. I will take it. So this is the one where call it a cop out answer, call it a you're taking the easy way out. But I think the biggest winner on the real estate side is just any investor who haven't lost their shirt right now. If you're an investor, if you're a real estate investor without floating rates, if you've been able to keep your property, whether on the commercial or on the residential side, you've been able to just stabilize your asset and kept occupancy at at a reasonable rate without like losing money or turning in the keys on your property. I say you are the biggest win in 2024. We obviously interest rates went up right the fastest that we've all pretty much seen it during our lifetime and over the last 20 plus years. A lot of, and we've seen pockets of real estate investors who've been distressed in the commercial space. We've seen some in the residential space. We've seen large real estate apartment syndicators lose 300, 400 unit apartments, lose hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, if you are able to close the year out still with your books intact, with your property still cash flowing, occupancy rate still decent, and you have enough capital where you know, hey, I could be around making it through 25 and 26, you are a winner. I don't care if you bought a new property or not. If you're able to maintain where you are, if you're just able to maintain from the beginning of the year to where we are now, I think you are in a good position. Opportunities might come next year, but that's kind of what that's my biggest win is all the folks who fortunate enough have been able to weather the storm to this point.
Yeah, my biggest real estate winner, I went with build to rent. So I went because it was earlier this year, and some few stats here for you. It said that build to rent construction reached an all time high this year, indicating a strong investor confidence and growing demand for the rental housing. So for example, Toib and I, the argument can be made that we actually bought a build to rent home because we remember the developer who built the unit for us and then we rented it out. So there was lots of demand for that in terms of people looking to live in a Class A property. It might not be in a good location, but most tenants want brand new construction because it's much easier to maintain and all that stuff. And it also provide that experience that they're looking for. And also one thing that they talked about here was around, it said build to rent accounted for a larger share of the single family housing starts compared to previous years, highlighting its increasing prominence in real estate landscape. So from there, I went with build to rent because brand new construction, there's a huge demand for that asset class. The probability of you getting a high occupancy rate is much higher than a Class C or B minus property. So yeah, that is my analysis here.
I actually agree with that. Yeah.
Hey, yo, what is your biggest real estate winner?
My biggest real estate investment winner, because real estate investment is kind of broad. For me, the biggest is actually developers. I believe real estate developers will be the biggest winners for the next 3 years. Based on the supply demand situation going on right now, they are just sitting on a nice fluffy couch. There's nothing you can say to them. They're just ready for you, because they're the ones, you need them to be able to kind of solve this situation. And I really believe, this is just my hunch, but I do believe there will be even incentives from the government coming to them to be able to kind of even build more so they could actually kind of solve the situation we're in. So I'm saying the real estate developers, developing, providing development right now. So they're definitely sitting in a great situation right now. So,
but then again, developers that have properties that's hitting the market right now, though, I don't know how well those deals are penciling out versus what they were penciling in 20. Like if you started construction 21 or even early 22, and now your property is in the market now, I don't know if they're getting the numbers that they thought they would get. Now,
that's a good question.
Like those people, I don't know if they're getting the numbers and they're seeing the returns.
Right.
That because I've seen a couple of developers who got their properties out right now and they're holding it.
Yeah. So I agree with that, but I will tell you what the way it should be seen as well, right, is from a development standpoint. there is a huge demand. Now the price might have been high. It's like it's a necessity. It's like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
look, you go to the store, you're trying to, because you need water, right? If water is
Mm-hmm.
$10, you will be mad as hell you pay $10 for it, but you still will get it. You get
Yes,
what I'm
indeed.
saying?
Yeah, I
I
agree.
Mm-hmm.
believe that is the biggest problem that is going on. Yes, developers will like to kind of develop, on Monday, everything is done Monday and have it sold by Friday, right?
Yeah.
It's taking a little bit longer than usual, but one
Yeah.
thing they always have in mind is this will sell. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
will get off our shelves.
But they
So
need the
it's
cash to be able
right
to service the debt until then, though,
on
right?
that debt,
So,
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
yeah.
one of those biggest things is how, like, like the Ryan homes or the Toll brothers and stuff like that, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
they will build, but it's to them it's just like, okay, if if somebody cannot pay $500,000 for this, for this house, maybe the person we're trying to hit was the medium income market.
Right.
Maybe the higher income market will get it. Either way, there's
Yeah.
demand in all levels,
Right.
where they will still be able to do it. It might just take them a little bit longer, but they still
Mm-hmm.
get that going. So I kind of see
Well, I
people
agree.
in that area being
Yeah,
the winners. Yeah.
yeah, and actually, it dovetails well to my build to rent because most developers today they are moving to the build to rent space, whereby they might not be able to sell it, but they believe that hey, if you could build, you have this great property in a great location. Well, even though my goal here is to sell the property, maybe I can rent it out until the market
Right.
becomes, ideal for me to exit out of the deal, which is
Yep.
what most people are doing. So I think,
Which is very
yeah,
interesting.
it's an
I'm glad you
interesting,
said that because
yeah,
I actually noticed that
because
happen. I
when
went to
interest rates come
Indiana.
down, they can refinance out.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I actually went to Indiana for Thanksgiving with my family,
Yeah.
and we
Mm-hmm.
had there was this big complex in Indiana, right? Brand new buildings. I kid you not, all of them were short term rentals. And there were
Yeah,
townhomes,
same too.
3 bedroom, 2 bedroom townhomes,
Mm-hmm.
brand new, and they were just doing
Mhm,
short
so-
term, Airbnb with it, which is pretty good because we went in there, we're like, oh hell, what was this? You don't,
You like it.
it's really
Mm-hmm.
nice. You could tell it was no more than 2 years old, so they're kind of still making their money, I guess, paying or kind of
Yeah.
Yeah,
servicing that interest only side of
Yeah.
the loan, but they probably will
yeah.
sell it too because you could see an influx of people going into that area, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, so build to rent for me, developer for AO, and so what do you say?
Investors that still get their
Invest
shirt on.
that investors that
Okay.
did not lose.
The
Yeah.
non-naked
Yeah,
ones.
into the real
Oh,
estate.
listen. Okay.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's
Oh
awesome.
man.
Well, the next one is biggest real estate loser 2024. Hey, you
Yeah.
want to kick us off with that?
Yeah. I think the biggest losers, the biggest losers are the ones who actually
Theologian.
bought a property a couple of weeks before shit hit the fan, right? It's always the ones I will say they're the biggest losers. I think it's the opposite of what I was. Well, it goes along with what I was talking about, where it's like, could you picture if you actually bought because you were thinking of kind of starting an investment, and then the market hits with interest rates going up? Because remember when I'm not meaning to have our viewers as laughing here, but we remember when the interest rates was playing how low can you go, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
2%.
And
Mortgages on
everybody, yeah,
2%.
everybody was buying. You know what I mean?
Everybody,
Everybody was
yeah.
buying. And could you
Mm-hmm.
picture when they put a halt on it and then it just started
Yeah.
going up? And then you started seeing creeping up and you're like, okay, let me get in before it creeps up too much. And then you got in at the peak, right? And now you're just like, okay, now I want to offload it, but you really can't because nobody's going to
Yeah.
give you anything. I feel like they're the biggest losers. I hope they're not listening to this. Not meaning to laugh at you, but those are the biggest losers. I still think they'll persevere regardless, but it's just
Yeah.
coming in at that peak and then things starts going wrong for you are the ones that I will say are the biggest losers, really. And those are the
Yeah.
investors. Yeah.
You're right, tweet.
Spot on,
Biggest.
Ayo, right? There's the Warren Buffett's quote of only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked? Right.
Yeah.
And that
Right.
talks about like, hey, when things like this hit the fan, only do you find out like, okay, like who's really well prepared versus hey, who's been just threading it along.
Hmm.
And that's why my biggest loser are that exactly the opposite, and exactly what A was talking about. It's the real estate investors who was over levered without right sufficient capital reserves, who have now either turned in the keys and have lost your investors' money. Like our role as investors, whether you've taken outside investments or you're taking even just your own capital, I look at each of us here as like captains of ship, right? Like it is on us to properly steer the ship to safe landing. And on this ship, you have goods, right? You have people on there, hey, who are counting on you to make it a safe journey. How well you steer that ship is based on how what like what is your competency level. How great of a captain are you? Whether I'm steering my own personal family's capital, whether it's outside investors, you have to be diligent. And when you get in a situation like this where things are just you had the right point. Interest rates was doing how low can you go? It's gonna be like this forever. Let's just over lever. Let's put as little capital of our own money in it. Let's have little reserve. Let's buy as much property as possible. And then 2 years later, things flip, and now hey, you've lost a lot of money. You've lost investors' confidence. It's super tough. It's been a tough year for some real estate investors for sure. So they're the biggest losers, man. It's been sad to
Yeah.
see.
No, I think we are all singing from the same sheet, I guess. So I also had borrowers with loan maturities that happened this year. I mean, if that happened, I was saying the first half of the year because they cut interest rates in Q3. Or now
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that affected the debt situation, but those borrowers who with low maturities, obviously they found difficulty in refinancing their loans at that significant higher rate. So it's going to be interesting. And obviously, most of them went default, went bankrupt. Also, the cost of capital made it very challenging for them to finance new projects as well. So I think we're saying the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, borrowers with loan maturities that was due in 2024.
Great.
Awesome. So let's go to the next question. Is the biggest surprise or your biggest surprise in business? Hey, you want to kick us off?
Oh, that's a big one. Like cracking my brain on the biggest
Me too.
surprise. But I will say my biggest surprise was actually Claude AI. If you
Mm,
know about Claude AI by Anthropic,
mm-hmm,
such a great AI tool.
Mm.
When they brought out Sonnet and what it actually does, to me, this is my personal opinion. I believe
mm-hmm,
it dwarfs OpenAI in certain areas,
Okay.
and it's amazing what it does. I mean, I use it in my business right now, and being able to have like AI agents, and be able to kind of use AI for sales and use them for this, use them for that, was really really good. I was not expecting that at all this year. I was thinking I was gonna just stick to my surprise of how much AI really helps, and be able to take that little spoon of surprise for the year and enjoy it until I kind of saw Claude AI and what it actually does with even AI agents and stuff like that. That surprised the hell out of me. So that would be my thing. Is Claude
Mm.
AI was
yeah,
definitely a good
good
a good
surprise.
company that surprised me.
It's good.
Nice. Nice.
My biggest so Claudia for A. My biggest surprise in business was I was trying to figure out what to put in this. I just went with I guess the obvious answer, which was to me was a soft London recession because I think
Mm.
I mean given the amount of interest, the inflation at that point, and obviously it's been able to come down and to near 2%, or I say, or closer to 3% now. I still thought something should break in the system, but in the thanks to Jerome Powell, he's done a great job trying to navigate. When to cut rates, when to keep rates, when to pause. So for me, I'll say it was a bigger surprise. Now I'm not sure when. At some point, it's going to happen. I'm not sure when it's going to happen.
Mm.
So just trying to
I want to add to that.
figure out.
I want to
Yeah.
add to that, Caleb. You
Hmm.
that was a good one. And the reason why I'm saying that is this, right? I would say, what are the chances that the movie Big Short will happen again, right?
Yeah.
And I keep saying this is my own opinion again, is there ain't
Mm-hmm.
no way in hell the government would
Mm-hmm.
let you bring out a movie like Big Short when it could happen again, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like
Mm-hmm.
there's no way they were going to let Big Short happen. I'm sure that's the boogeyman
Mm-hmm.
that is just right behind them, and they would not let the reoccurrence of that happen, you know. So there's always the moment it happened, it would be. I think it will unveil the inefficiency of government if they hadn't found a way to have the country, in a perfect blanket,
Mm-hmm.
or insulated from that happening again. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where
Mm-hmm.
because if it had happened again, then we would be questioning ourselves like, what is our government doing?
Yeah.
Like, are we efficient here? Like, we call ourselves the biggest, most dominant country in the world, and we're letting
Mm-hmm.
this happen twice. Instead of
Yeah.
that, I think we kind of, we insulated ourselves enough. So that was why, for some reason, you were right about the soft landing. I think I was surprised about that too, but I just kind of knew the huge crash probably wouldn't happen because it has
Happen. Yeah.
happened before. You only get burnt
Mm-hmm.
once. You won't go there again.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of felt like during all that time since '08, the biggest thing we've probably done was try to insulate or try to eliminate the idea of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Makes sense.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that.
and
I'm really glad you said that, Caleb.
Yeah.
then
So your
yeah, we'll see
biggest
how much I. So I'll say, so I'm gonna
surprise.
go a little left field on this one. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of my biggest surprise. So when I think about business, I love the political drama of
Mm-hmm.
business. I love the high stakes. Like I love movies like that, like the high stakes drama that business can bring. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the ones that caught my eye for this year was um, the former CEO at Chipotle
Mm.
stepping down and going to go join
That's a good
Starbucks
one.
in the middle of the night while Starbucks was replacing the CEO that they had just brought, Laxman, who had just been there just a little over a year. The drama of like, hey, just announcing, the CEO Laxman has decided to step down and he will be immediately replaced by Brian Nickel, former CEO at Chipotle, was like, whoa. So just one highlight at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, this is a results-based business. And capitalism, and while it's easy to look at CEOs and be, oh man, you're making 16 million, you're making 20 million, there is pressure to perform at the highest of levels. And
Mm-hmm.
they gave Laxman, the former CEO at Starbucks, he was there for just a little over a year, but the market trends wasn't right. His strategy and his vision to execute there wasn't really a lot of buy-in. There was kind of some discontent internally at Starbucks, and then you had the founder. I'm just forgetting his name right now, but he
Yeah.
had uh, he had written the op-ed, literally criticizing his own company and his CEO strategy. Uh, help me get his name because it's
Yeah. I'm
like
gonna get his name.
lacking
Yeah.
me
His
right
name is
now, right? And then in the middle of the
Howard
night.
Schultz. Howard
Yes,
Schultz.
Howard Schultz, perfect. Yep, Howard Schultz, who had handpicked this guy, recruited him from the UK, brings him to the US a year and a half in, and like, yeah, we got to turn ship. You go get more of which I love this, by the way, a proven commodity in Brian Nichols. This is somebody who came up through like that industry. Hey, Yum's brand, he was credited with turning around Yum's brand, which owned Taco Bell and that kind of brands.
Mm-hmm.
He's been credited with turning around Chipotle. Stock is up 700% during his time. And then in the middle of the night, he just brings him over, and now he's the new CEO at Starbucks. He's chairman of the board. I just love the high stakes game that was that political,
Yeah.
or call it that business drama at that level.
Mm-hmm.
It really caught my eye. And now I've been tracking Starbucks stock to see how it's going to perform. We'll see. And a little fun fact, and maybe this is why I also caught my eye. The first stock that I ever personally bought with my own money was Starbucks
Starbucks.
back
Oh,
in like
okay.
2012 or 13. Like I bought
Wow.
Starbucks stock, held it for like 3 weeks, and then sold out.
So
But
that.
that was a fun fact. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm
Amazing.
sorry. I might be cheating here. I apologize. But
Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
the one that it does surprise all three of us. Who would all agree on this was
Mm-hmm.
the assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare.
That's a good
Like,
one too. I didn't
you
think of
know,
yeah.
that
Biggest
I thought
surprise.
about that.
Like
That is a surprise that we didn't even know about. And that only hit
yeah.
me only after you were talking about CEOs. But it's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of like, could you picture after he was assassinated, they tell you that you're gonna take the position? Yeah,
There's
it's
Yeah.
panic across
it's
the
kind of like,
industry
let me
right
talk to
now.
my wife.
Yeah,
One of those
right.
situations is like, the answer is gonna be no when you say let me talk to my wife, but it's like, but you could just tell
What
it's
is my
like,
bodyguard situation looks like now? Now
exactly,
I need 3 to 5 minimum.
exactly,
I want
exactly.
24-hour detail. So
Mm-hmm.
that's I mean
Yeah.
that was a big story to your point. I
Yeah,
mean that's huge and that's still ongoing. So
right.
yeah.
That is a
And
surprise.
it's very
Yeah, I
interesting
thought
how he
about that.
got shot like in the middle. It's Midtown Manhattan. Like that's number
Yeah.
one. But so the time he got shot, I'm not sure. Was it 7 something?
Yeah, it was 7
That
a.m. It was like early in the
that's
morning.
like
Yeah.
early morning. So like I'm like,
Early morning.
who has the borders and the gas to do this? So at that moment, I was thinking.
Right.
I mean, if you're a CEO of a company, of a large company, I mean, come on, you need to have security. Now, I'm not sure if United Health, that guy was very famous or recognizable.
See,
For me, it gives me cause to pause, and I'm curious to know exactly how the discovery looked like in the trials. For
Yeah.
me, I'm
yeah.
like,
That man didn't see sunlight.
if if
That's
if if,
crazy.
if they like, why was he killed? Is there a blackmail kind of thing, or was the guy also involved in extracurricular activity that was
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
engaged in? And
Right.
so
It's
it's
gonna be a
very
lot
I,
coming
interesting.
out. It's
I,
gonna be a
Yeah,
lot coming
yeah,
out.
I'm curious to
I think
know.
it's gonna unveil a lot too. But yes,
Yeah.
it was being investigated for something though. I do remember that. But
Mm-hmm.
you can be
So I
in an
don't know.
industry like that where health is really a
Yeah.
commodity. There's the four main things we need in this world, right? Food, health, shelter, transportation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of seemed like, um, capitalism was starting to kind of take over. And even in that situation, when you're a CEO of healthcare, you're not big, you're not really on the TV every time or YouTube and all that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
So you just kind of feel like, yeah, I'm just somebody that you probably don't remember till you want your
No,
insurance
no.
paid or something,
Right.
Yeah.
um
And you're spot on, right? Because you
yeah,
would think it's easy now, maybe in hindsight, to say, "Oh yeah, he should have a huge security details." And I think across the industry, we'll start to see more of that. But you're
Mm-hmm.
right. Oftentimes it's the big name CEO who's up and front and center, who's always on TV, like Elon Musk security details, the
right,
Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the right Tim Cook. Those are going to have much extravagant security details, but if you think about right the CEO, he's like a second level CEO because he's
right,
not even the main CEO of the entire corporation. And so
correct,
at that level, it's like I'm not really blending in. I'm not in a consumer facing product. My name shouldn't be out there. I'm sure historically those folks don't get the kind of security details that a kind of more name brand public facing type CEOs might have.
right,
But I can definitely assure now everybody is reviewing what is their security details for their top executives, and I expect them to start to bolster the security protection for them.
Yeah.
right.
Awesome. So yeah. So we have
Sorry I had to
for
cheat
me.
there, man.
No worries at all. So I guess for A, you're gonna you change your answer to the shooting of the CEO. Biggest surprise tweet was around the dark of the night mastermind movement of
Crazy.
Brian Nichols to start
Yeah.
from Chipotle to Starbucks, and mine
Loved
was
it. Yep.
the economy having a soft landing
Right.
experience. The next question is the biggest surprise in politics. I'll go first. My biggest surprise in politics was, I'll say, Kamala Harris. Why? Because first of all, I never thought that Joe Biden was going to drop out. Because I mean, he went through the primaries, won the election fair and square, and I was thinking, okay, if Obama and Ron Klain and Nancy Pelosi was going to mastermind him out of and coerce him to drop out, maybe that will go into a primary. So for him to endorse, I mean, I guess that's a logical
Yeah.
standpoint to endorse your candidate. But I thought it was going to go into a primary. But that was my biggest surprise in politics. Kamala Harris, the first Black woman to lead a major political campaign
Presidential
for the
nomination there.
Democrats,
Yeah.
independent nomination. So that's my surprise. Ayo, let's go to you. Your biggest surprise in politics.
I think my biggest surprise in politics has been the one that just happened recently with the bill, I believe, that got approved.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because, I'm in the government, almost shut down. It was very
Yeah.
interesting. Everybody knows my wife works in the government. So it's kind of weird because we were looking at it on Friday, like, so what's going to happen? And the reason why it was very surprising to me was one of the things that we were like, what? Where they had the bill, and this is what I heard, and I think they're not wrong, but it's like Trump wanted us to increase the deficit and add that in there to push it up again. And it's like, that's opposite of what you were, what we actually had you voted on, right? That was opposite of what Doge is here for, and all that kind of stuff. Efficiency. And that is very interesting because when they stopped it, it was his own people, that even did that too, and said, no, we're not doing that, right? So even though I was happy, it was surprising, but I was happy if that, because it goes back to a conversation all three of us has had prior to, which had to do with, Republicans taking a lot of the seats, right? And all that kind of stuff. But doesn't mean that now Trump could do anything he wants, right? I think it reinforces that though Trump is the face that we see, they still doesn't mean that everything he says, kind of just passes through. So that was a surprise, but it was actually kind of like a good surprise. There are different surprises in this world. Hey, your leg got amputated, or is a surprise like, hey, you got a brand new car outside, right? That was a surprise, but it was a good surprise, right? To be able to show like, hey, yes, you won the presidency, but doesn't mean, you would turn it to your beautiful sandbox, right? So that was
it's very interesting. Surprise. Also, great answer, by the way. I think it also told me that now the political media square has shifted from the mainstream media to X, because what happened was when they saw the bill over 700, I'm not sure how many pages it was, and then the first tweet came from who? From Vivek and then Elon Musk opined. So, and then they started calling the congressmen and guys like, why are we sending money to Ukraine? Why are we $5 billion for for censorship? Like, so to have that pressure, not from yes, I know there was some internal differences around ideas of how to move forward, but I think the people were the one who were able to pressure the congressman, the guy. We have to downsize it to 216 pages. Obviously, Trump did not get what he wanted in terms of moving the debt ceiling out. But overall, it was a win-win. The Democrat won some and got passed. So it was very interesting to see all that conversation happen on X.
Yeah. Now, you guys might not know this too, because I always see it on this side of town. There's in DC, you probably know about the stadium, the abandoned stadium that has been there for a very long time. Who was going to actually inherit like that huge acre? Because DC is starting to look a little bit like New York now, where it's like there's no real estate.
Yeah.
And that was a huge, I'm telling you, it's choked right now. So that was a huge real estate accomplishment, because that's been abandoned for a long time. They kind of slipped that in there. Silly Democrats, but they found a way to get that right. They found a way to get that stadium, so that's a win for them, I guess. Kind of slipped some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Your biggest surprise in politics.
Biggest surprise in politics. What did it guys call me? Mr. High Stakes Drama, because that is my thing. I love high stakes, chips on the table. Where's the drama? Oh, I didn't see that come in. That kind of play is always fascinating to me. So Caleb, you hit it spot on with your first one. I mean, you landed on Kamala, but I think it's the Joe Biden dropping out of the race. 3 months to go. The entire drama that happened, Obama having to step in, George Clooney coming in, everybody giving their point of view, Biden saying, I'm going to stay. Then one night he gets a call from his daddy, Obama, and now he's like, yeah, I'm stepping down. And then immediately he endorses Kamala. Like, that was so shocking to me. And I was actually surprised and frustrated, because I felt if you already got to this point in the election, in the presidential election race, you just got to fight it through. I just didn't feel like by just 3 months to go, switching out was a better choice. And I don't think, and I think the results prove that either way. Like, he might not have a shot, but there's the saying of you dance at the party with who brung you. 3 months ago, he already went through your primaries. He's already the head. 3 months, let him ride it out, and we could recoup. He didn't do that. He surprisingly stepped down. I was super shocked. That was a drama. So that was one. If I can just give cheat slightly and put a second one, which is bigger in the international scale, and that was the recent downfall of Bashar al-Assad
That's a
in
good
Syria.
one.
That was the middle of the night. That was another
that's
Sunday night, middle of the night. Wait, what's going on? What right? There's the rebels have overtaken the capital in Damascus. Right, Syria is no longer what it is. Al Bashir cannot be found. Next day we hear he's in Russia. He's now seeking asylum. Like the stakes. I mean, because it wasn't even on the news, right? Anybody who was part of during the Arab uprising in 2012, like, hey, there was a lot of drama around that time. Hey, he's gonna fall, he's gonna step down, and then things kind of quiet down. We didn't really have much conversation or coverage here in the U.S. And then over like a 2-day span, it was like, hey, the rebels are gaining momentum, right? Like Al Bashir has fallen. He's somewhere and we don't know where. And now we see videos of the rebels overtaking the presidential palace, and everything has been knocked over and destroyed. That was another political drama where I'm just like, man, things come at you fast. Whether you're in business or in politics, it is high stakes all the time. If you're in power, you need to be paying attention. So
yeah, that's awesome. It's amazing. Let's move to the next one. We have about looking at the time here, 15 minutes to go, so we can trim the rest of the day.
Yeah, trim it.
The other one is a 2024 most contrarian belief. I'll probably go first here. I'll just give you one sentence. Less is more, bigger is always better. For example, when there was a lot of layoffs happening with Twitter and most of the big tech companies, most investors thought that, well, would our stock price go up? It actually went up. And now, for the first time, there's a bipartisan agreement that the government needs to be efficient. It has to be refined. We need to get it smaller, and we need to focus on waste, fraud, and abuse. So everybody agrees that we need to work on that, and I'm very excited to have both parties working together to address this initiative. So that was my contrarian belief. I never thought this day will happen where, less is going to be more. That thinking around bigger is always better. So I think that's my my contrarian belief for 2024. Ayo, your 2024 most contrarian belief.
My biggest one is, I think it's the one I just kind of go by for a lifetime here, is when everybody's doing it, then it's too late, right, for you to get into it. And it always goes like, I could definitely use this interest rate situation when it was low as an example of that, or when everybody's just doing it. Like, I always feel like the moment it hits social media, I'm a TikTok guy, so it's like if I see 6 or 7 different people talk about the same thing, I am not tapping into it. By then it's just it ain't working. It ain't working for me, So I've always felt like, that's one of the things, and you guys, we're real estate investors. We talked about this in our previous podcast that, when the interest rate was low, we all saw flux of people who said they were real estate investors. They were trying to sell you ebooks, and they were trying to do this and trying to do that when the interest rates were low, right? But people like us, where it's like we knew how to persevere when it's bad, right? And we prepped for that. So we knew exactly when to kind of slow it down and just kind of let that wave kind of pass and then come back. So that's where my belief has always been, is when everybody's when everybody's doing it, then it's too late. That's always been my contrarian belief.
Love it.
Mine is going to be, do not count your chicken before they hatch. Right, it is I personally, I feel like there's this over jubilation that the fight on inflation is over, that we have quote unquote successfully hit this was a soft landing. We've avoided a recession. Next year's gonna be booming. I just don't believe that the pain is fully over yet. I'm asking everyone here to be very cautious in the approach. There's huge excitement that this new administration is coming and it's going to be pro-business and the next 4 years is going to be rosy. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's too early to tell. And I'm not seeing I'm still seeing a lot of gridlocks. I'm not seeing everything is just rosy going into 2025. I don't see corporate spending booming. I'm not sure how much I see hiring in the private sector. Inflation, how well do we continue to fight that? Is interest rates, mortgage interest rates, really going to go down to the 4s and the 5s next year? We don't see. So it's just let us cautiously track this thing going into 25 is my advice.
Oh man, I agree with you 100% on that, boy. That is a good one. That is a good one, man. Do not count. We're out here, Caleb. I know me and you like this, but like we're out. I think we should not put too much heaviness on for example, Doge. Right? We're thinking, and I think I was talking about it where it's very interesting. They complain that there are too many departments, but then we ended up creating a department to reduce departments.
Yeah. We have a meeting to have meetings.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's just, you're right. You're right. Do not count for that. I kind of like that.
Let's be cautious here, guys. Let's take it easy.
Yeah.
Let's just see this thing through.
Yeah.
All right. So if everybody's doing it, it's too late. Do not count chickens before they hatch. Bigger is not always better, and that obviously includes relationships as well. I know. Anyways, I'll just digress.
Yeah, this is a good one.
I know some niggas talking about bigger, whatever. Bleep it. Bigger asses. No, bigger asses. No. Anyway,
bigger is not better.
Bigger, it's not always better.
Okay.
Anyway, that's just a funny joke.
Me and Caleb could go all day. Let's stop.
2024 best performing asset.
I don't know. I'll take this first. So best performing asset, like you're gonna have performance in various areas. I'm just gonna highlight two that for me anyways did really well. Crypto and stock. So in the crypto space, obviously we saw the resurgence of Bitcoin crossing 100,000 this year. It's up 120%, I believe, year to date based on the latest number. And then you had Dogecoin, right? Talk about Dogecoin, for those who remember, like this was the Elon Musk stock that got popular during Elon was going to do Saturday Night Live, and it went up and then it dropped down and it died for one of the best performing crypto to the. It's up 300%. So that performed really well, and that was huge. And then on the stock side, there's a company called Palantir. For those who follow, it's maybe the best performing stock this year in the S&P 500. Up 375%. It's a company that was founded and invested by Peter Thiel and a few others. They also have in the AI space. I mean, that stock has done really well. So those are kind of my two assets that did well this year that I personally owned and provided some great returns.
I am a very
performing asset.
I will be honest with you. I cracked my brain on this and couldn't come up with a good one. I think it would be NVIDIA to me in regards to the stock market, mainly because of the revolutionary item that they're actually creating right now, and it's not even stopping. They don't show any hint or signs of that actually slowing down. I definitely will give it to NVIDIA. Asset wise, for sure, I will give it to them. Now, of course, all the other commodities that I think for 2025 might be ready will be things in the EV.
Can you save that for?
Next, You're right. Absolutely. I like that. Okay, smart.
Nice tease.
That's a nice tease right there. So just say hold that thought. My best performing asset for 2024. I just went with the Magnificent 7 plus one. I included Broadcom to that list. So Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, NVIDIA, and Tesla plus Broadcom. Those are my best performing asset in that category. Cool. Let's do how are we doing? Looking on time. Okay. Let's do the 2024 worst performing asset.
And then we'll talk sports and other stuff.
Yep, and then we'll go
again
into sports. Worst performing asset, of course, I've always it goes back to the biggest loser as well, which is Party City, and all the non-evolving businesses really. But Party City will probably be the biggest non-evolving asset. And crazy one, I'm sorry to say, will be GameStop. I'm not gonna go into that, but we know that asset ain't doing nothing. It's just
it's a meme, meme stuck, I guess. Tweet your worst performing asset.
I'll give you guys a fun one or a shocking one. NFTs.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Where are they? Where are
they?
the NFTs expert?
Non-fungible
2020,
tokens.
2021, it was booming. I haven't heard anything about the ape monkey, all this ape and monkeys and NFTs. The paper is gone. Okay, it's dead. Worst performing. It's under my biggest flop. NFTs. People were trading at millions, and now you can barely give those things away for free. I don't know what it is, but
I
at
never
this point,
did either. You're right.
Worst performing asset for 2024 easily.
But my biggest flop as well was the Hawk Tour meme coin.
Oh my god!
Remember the lady who got famous by talking about Hawk Tour or whatever. Anyway, so the meme coin it launched and literally just gained popularity by just plummeted.
Ain't she in jail or something right now?
No, there's potential. I mean,
there's definitely lawsuits happening right now.
There's some lawsuits happening there, and also
she got to go to jail for that, man.
Irate of.
I'm sorry.
I mean, there's a lawsuit coming, so we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see how that goes. So.
That's a general scam. I don't like that. Yeah. Things like that piss me off, dude. Like, I need to stop because, I don't like people who rob people. Yeah, well, of course, y'all know that already, but like, I really despise it. She need to go to jail.
I wouldn't disagree.
But anyway, let's go into other things before my opinions start popping out too much.
I was going to skip the anticipated trend for time, and I'll move to the best CEO in business. Is that fine with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Best CEO in business 2024. Who do you think you're like, man, like they did an amazing job?
I think Elon Musk is definitely number one for me. I mean, that guy just sent a rocket to space and he caught that thing midair. I really think that was what sealed it for Trump, truthfully. But that is amazing, revolutionary. He's always been revolutionary when it comes to things. I kid you not, I'm even thinking of what he might even come up with next. But that was the most amazing one for me.
Nice.
Best
guys, I'm gonna start a segment. It's called the high stakes drama because I want you guys to see this is my consistency. Because best CEO of 2024. When I thought about this, and I thought about it, and I won't necessarily say best, but I'll just say one that I was most impressed by.
Most important.
Because once again, what's my criteria, guys? High stakes drama. Is Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. And why is that? Is because his company had pumped almost $13 billion into OpenAI. And in the middle of the night, OpenAI does what? It fires its CEO, Sam Altman. And Satya's like, whoa. I just gave you guys $10 billion. What is going on? And what does he do quickly? He forms a deal with Sam Altman to bring him in as an employee into his own company and starts a Microsoft AI department, right? And then Sam's like, okay, man, I'm not sure I really want to be an employee. So they start having this conversation of him potentially returning back. And in the middle of the night, he's able to broker the deal for him to return back to OpenAI as CEO while maintaining and managing his own investment in that company. Just all time, when we talk about CEOs, I want to judge you on how well can you react in high stakes environment. I want to see your brain power when things are falling apart. And I thought Satya Nadella's ability to position Microsoft as the biggest investor in OpenAI, that's one was huge. Two, you have the CEO drama going on, and hey, I'm not about to let this brain power go. You quickly create a AI department in Microsoft and hires him to be the CEO, and then as soon as he's getting ready to leave, you support him back. That was flawless execution. I'm talking, Hudson River, the pilot landing the plane in the water type stuff. That is the level of kind of CEO, the level of intellect I need from my CEO. So that was super impressive coming out of this year.
Well, that's a great point. I think Satya Nadella is one of my favorite CEOs as well. He's an amazing thinker, and the way he processes information is very interesting as well. So my best CEO in business, I picked Mark Zuckerberg. Ooh. Obviously, he had his famous letter or report that he last year, 2023, the year of efficiency.
Efficiency.
After he was getting lots of pressure from investors to to do the right thing by right sizing the business. They did that, and obviously, the stock at that time was around 19. Now it's sitting about $78 a share, which is crazy.
It's
Over
huge.
680. Yeah, over 600%, like in the past 5 years. So he's my CEO, and also a great mark of a CEO is just being honest about what happened. I mean, he came up. I'm not sure if at that time he didn't know who was going to win the election, but he was like, what, let me just do what is right. He published a letter about how he felt like he faced some pressure from the government agencies, FBI and CIA, about censoring the censorship scheme. Put it out there, and I think he was honest about it, and he vowed not to do that again. So just he being honest with the stakeholders, which is the American people, and also his shareholders around the stock, business wise, in terms of how they are also going to be competing with OpenAI and also the other large language model companies. I think it's going to be interesting. So that's who I picked for my
Perfect. That was a good
best
choice.
CEO
And I like the
2024.
Oculus.
Oh yeah.
That was really solid. And the new was it the Samsung spectacles, right? Was it?
Oh yeah,
Is
he
that
has the
them?
Ray-Ban. He has the Ray-Ban meta
The
glasses,
Ray-Ban,
right?
Yeah.
Where you can
Ray-Ban
take a
glasses,
picture and all that stuff.
which
Yeah,
is going to be
yeah,
revolutionary.
he's pushing
to
it.
scale.
Yeah.
Pushing it.
Big time.
Okay.
Awesome. Let's do the best investor 2024.
I think we did that one already, but are you talking about like from a CEO standpoint?
Yeah, just in general.
Just any best investor that
I think I mean like I said, I think Toll Brothers for me.
Okay,
I will
nice.
say Toll Brothers, they build one of the most beautiful homes, and nobody has really kind of tapped into that and how national they actually go in regards to real estate. They still make one of the best ones. You do find like some architects that build their own unique kind of properties, which I still think is good, but nobody has kind of made it in a known name like Toll Brothers have. So I'm always gonna keep picking Toll Brothers, even though I can't really buy one of them properties right now.
Hey man, stop playing, man. Shell out the money. Shell out the money, okay? Tell Mrs. Ephraim, write the checks.
Yeah. I had to force her to start reading psychology and money. So she
there we go.
She's starting to understand.
Write the checks.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely Toll Brothers for me in the real estate world. Yeah.
So
I went with I went with an individual just across the business landscape, of course. So best investor for me, and this might be shocking, but I went with Larry Ellison. And I went with Larry Ellison, one, obviously a visionary entrepreneur, a true doer, a man who can get it done on your own. But I think I'm inspired by him, not just as there's something about, one, to demonstrate your ability to actually do in a space, two, to have longevity, and then three, to be kind of a link amongst all the other kind of upcoming entrepreneurs who are coming after you. And I think that's where Larry has been a great investor. If you remember, when it's easy to look at Tesla stock now and what it's at, there was a time this company was potentially on the brink of bankruptcy, right? And a lot of people did not believe at that time. And this is when Larry Ellison wrote Elon Musk $1 billion check to invest in Tesla at the time. And now he's 50x his money there. We talk about Larry wrote him $2 billion or $1 billion also on the Twitter purchase. You might say that's a bad idea, but right. Larry Ellison has been there as a longtime investor in NVIDIA. He was right there when Steve Jobs was coming up and helping Steve Jobs navigate his return back to Apple. So this, as an investor of picking great talent, and then because he had so much capital, willing to write the capital to get all these other entrepreneurs to come in. I mean, he's longevity. Oracle stock, a company that he's found, is up 63% just this year alone. So his net worth is over $200 billion. He's demonstrated that he's not just a great entrepreneur, he's a great investor, a great partner, and able to identify some of these brilliant minds. So I'm super impressed by Larry Ellison this year.
Wonderful. So Ayo had
Toll Brothers.
Investors. Yep. And then you have Larry Ellison. And I wanted to say something real quick. So the previous segment I had mentioned that Facebook was 78. No, I lied. I was looking through at a wrong stock. So Meta was sitting at roughly $123 when they wrote that letter, and now it's up to
Five.
$599.
Yeah,
So
that's another great stock.
in the past 5 years, 189% increase. I wanted to make sure
Yep.
that I say that to the audience. So my best investor for 2024, I said was Peter Thiel. Why? Because obviously he launched Palantir Technologies. Palantir is one of the best stocks 2024. He was the first person in Silicon Valley who picked Trump when everybody was scared as hell to mention the name Donald Trump. And obviously he's a great picker of persons, not only just starting great companies. He also picked David Sachs as well, obviously Elon Musk, like the PayPal mafia kind of thing. So I'll say that there's been a successful takeover of the U.S. government by the PayPal,
PayPal folks.
by the PayPal mafia. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. So that is my best investor for 2024.
High stakes drama. There's gonna be lots more stories next year.
I'm telling you.
Stories. 3 questions. 4 questions to go, and then we'll do the reflection in 2024. We can race through this. Best new tech or product? I can go first. I'll say it's Google's Willow quantum chip, which is going to be interesting. How that could revolutionize the quantum computing.
Yep.
In that space. So that's what I put in there. I have a lot to talk about that, that topic, but I'll save that for later day. So I went with Willow, Google's quantum chip.
Yeah.
Toyi, what is your favorite?
Right now, I'm going with AI video generators. So VO2 by Google and OpenAI Sora. I mean, the advancements there to be able to quickly generate videos that's human-like and that advanced. I'm excited about what that looks like.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Willow is actually mine too. So me and you on that, Caleb. The idea of actually having quantum computer, is it 100xing or maybe 1000xing a supercomputer right now on actually resolving things? I believe that's huge. It's kind of like being able to go from where Dallas to Houston, right? It takes 4 hours, and now they're telling you could get there in 4 minutes. Is that kind of speed is what we're talking about, right? And being able to resolve things in that fast, it's amazing. I really think that, next year is gonna be fun. Gonna be fun.
I'm excited. Favorite media or podcast? Ayo.
My favorite podcast has always been there's a bunch of them, but my number one is always Hidden Brain.
2024
by NPR. I love Hidden Brain. I always look at I like self-development stuff, and they hit that a lot. So that Hidden Brain is always my favorite podcast. It probably will be forever.
Yeah.
Favorite podcast.
I'll give you quickly 2 that's on the opposite spectrum. 1, Master of Scale. I always love anything Reid Hoffman is doing. That's a great podcast that I'm always huge on. So
Blitzscaling.
Yeah, my technology and business. The other one that I would say for this year is going to be Club Shay Shay, especially when Cat Williams was on there earlier this year. So I'm gonna go on that other end with Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast. That was good.
It was awesome. My 2 favorite ones, I'm going to do the same thing. One for technology and one in politics. I like both. My tech business podcast was All In Podcast. It's a group of 4 guys who are friends, and they met together to start this podcast. They talk about business, politics, and anything investor related.
Those are the 4 billionaires, right?
David, the 4 billionaires. I
like them. I like that podcast.
David, what's his name? Other guy.
Yeah.
No, Sachs, Friedberg, and
Shamath.
Billionaires, but they got the moderator. He's in a billionaire.
He's not a billionaire, isn't he?
He's like more up there.
Yeah, he's kind of crabbing he's like, he's looking at that. He's looking at billionaire like this, He's a millionaire.
That's my course. My podcast every Friday they drop and I watch it. And the other podcast that I started listening to in 2024 is called The War Room by Steve Bannon. He gives you the inside baseball, what is happening in the politics, like who's the president, how the appropriation actually works, the unitary theory of the government, how the executive branch is also the commander in chief, and you can't hire somebody like you can't the DOJ shouldn't be investigating the president when you hired him. Like,
Right.
but that's what happened. When Nixon they tried to redefine the role of the executive branch to allow the DOJ to operate independently, but no, the DOJ doesn't operate independently. Work. So he really breaks it down and obviously brings guests on. And he's an interesting character. He's like a red pill guy. He want to be red pill. So, my two favorite podcasts.
I will say, if I was to pick a second, for me, would probably be Diary of a CEO. I don't know if you guys have
I was gonna say that too. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's definitely one I've been watching lately. Is a pretty good one. So those two, NPR, Hidden Brain, NPR for personal development, and the Diary of a CEO is a really good one. Kind of brings in. It reminds me, for some reason, it reminds me of TED. Kind of like from like on a podcast level. I don't know, maybe he's riding that wave where it's like, okay, when you finish speaking on TED, I'm gonna get you to
come on through
the Diary of the CEO. But it's really good.
Yep.
He gives them the opportunity to really speak in a
perfect
in a personal level. So that's
awesome.
Those are my two.
Well, fantastic. So 3 more questions to go. Moment of the year. I'll go first. I went with Trump's attempted assassination. I think that was an iconic moment. I remember I was with my good friend of mine. You guys probably know him, Janoi, and we have celebrating his child's birthday, and saw on the TV that Trump got shot. I was like, what the heck is going on here? I thought we were saying it was conspiracy theory, he faked it, all that stuff. It was an interesting moment, but for him to rise up and say fight, that's one word that came to my, and I tweeted about it on my Instagram. It was indomitable. That's that what came to mind. So that's definitely going to be something that'll be entrenched in history books, in political science book. We have to study how how old is he? 78-year-old man can be shot in the face and get out in that moment. So that was my moment of the year. Toyib.
Moment of the year. I'll go business real quick. There's been a lot of speculation around what cryptocurrency is and Bitcoin, and I thought Bitcoin crossing 100,000 had a lot of moments around it where people thought they give it validity, and this is a sign that it's Bitcoin is more likely to go to 1 million before it gets to 0. So I thought that was iconic for a lot of people who have been, especially in that crypto space, on what the potential is for this asset. So that's when I picked.
2024 moment of the year.
The moment of the year for me, you guys are gonna laugh. This got nothing to do with wealth, really, but it's actually Diddy situation, right? That to me was like, wow. He's been is my iconic, figure for a while. Yes, there's been things, being said about him, but who wouldn't they come up with something about if you're actually that big? So it's not like I was like kind of this, throwing it away or whatever, or supporting it really, but it was more like he was an iconic figure, it was something that you could not even just say, oh, okay, who is that? Everybody knows who that was. That was that for me.
That's certainly a moment, right? And I mean, this still yet to play out, and I think a whole lot more is going to be coming out 2025. But you're right, it was certainly a moment for this year.
Book and or blog recommendation for the audience, like the books you're reading this year, or any blog recommendations for the audience. Let's start with Tweet. Books you're reading this year.
Books. So I'm more of a books than podcast kind of person, anyway. So I have here. My book that I'm recommending, I actually have it here. It's called The Gap and the Game by Dan Sullivan. Nice. And it's such a good book. I love it because, one, it's just a helpful mindset shift especially for a lot of folks who are high achievers, who are constantly driving. And it just really asks the key question, like, what exactly are you measuring? If you find yourself in a moment where you feel anxious, you feel scared, probably you're measuring, where you want to go versus all the things that you feel like it's missing and it's a gap. But you find it, but you can quickly also shift that to more of a gratitude moment where, I know I'm well aware of where I'm trying to go to, but I also want to celebrate all the things that I've done to this point, and that helps kind of you set the right mind frame as you're going after all your different goals. So that's super important to me.
That's good. Wonderful. Ayo, your
Man,
any
you
book
know, I
recommendations for
kid
the
you not.
audience?
That's such a good topic. I've been thinking about it because I read too many books this year, and
Which is good.
Me and Toib always talk about all my personal development books that I read. But I will,
Mm-hmm.
if I may, I would drive it to three. Right.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, the biggest one, which is the psychology of money, to kind of teach you
Ooh.
in regards
Yeah.
to how to really move and understand that money is more of a behavior. It's not just something you chase; it's a behavior. So you kind of know the right way to find money and what wealth is for you, right? Because wealth is not $1 million
Mm-hmm.
every time or $1 billion. So
Yeah.
that's one.
That's a good one.
Um, I think me and Toba were talking about this one a lot, which was The Mountain Is You. I really, really, really recommend that book. I think Toba, you bought it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Such a good book. Highly recommend it. It's a great personal development to kind of have people,
Yeah.
develop themselves, find a better way to move in life, right? Find the self
Yeah.
sabotaging things to kind of things that hold you back, because the biggest thing that holds you back is yourself. So I've always said
Yeah.
that's one. My biggest author that I really love is Adam Grant. I always read all his book, Adam Grant.
Oh,
Adam Grant.
yep.
Okay.
That's a good
He
one.
brought out, I think he brought out Think Again. The one that I really like right now that I will put for 2024 is the Give and Take. I will say people to
Give and
read Give
take.
and Take. I really like
Mm-hmm.
Give and Take for sure. The one I'm reading right now, it's a little slow read, but it's a good one to read for people. Will be Psycho Cybernetics.
Yeah.
That's an intense, you know, kind of go deep into
Yeah.
your type of, you know, life and stuff
Psychology.
like
Yeah.
that. But if I was to give three, it would be the Give and Take, um, the Mountain Is You, and the Psychology of Money. I didn't got the time to start talking about like Big Leap and all that kind of stuff. So that three for sure. Start with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Well, I mean, I just have two books for the audience. The one I'm reading currently right now is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Such a good book.
Tiny changes, remarkable results. Is definitely one of the things that I want to definitely work on. Sometimes changes do not happen in big impact, but the smaller changes you make every single day compounds over
Hmm.
time. You see
Boy,
that
that's a
impact.
good book,
So
Caleb. That's a
it's
good
one of the things
book.
that
Yeah.
That's a
I
really
want
good
to
one. I have it here. I
definitely
can
finish
find
it
it, but
off
yeah.
and then start applying that for 2025. And that book that I'm just reading just for my own because I'm in the tech sales space is a Selling to the C-Suite.
Ah.
It's just an
Nice.
amazing book that helps you to figure out how do CEOs or how do CEOs think and how do you position your solution to them so that way it's not more of a tactical, it's more
Yeah.
strategic and how do you frame those questions and stuff like that. So these are two books that I'm reading, Selling to the C-Suite
I like that
and
Atomic
Atomic
Habits.
Habits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the Atomic Habits. That's such a good book. I had to read that twice. I was highlighting and everything
That's a
in
book you
there.
could be reading every year.
Yep.
Can we
Yep.
really,
That's a good one.
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, in conclusion, definitely we have our last question before we close out the year with a bang, 2024. I would like to say, thanks a lot, Ayo, for jumping on the pod. You've been an amazing guest for the
Thank you.
Wealth Weight Podcast show, and obviously to you as well, a great partner in this relationship. So, the last question is, what are some of your reflections on 2024? What are some of the things that just your overall reflection? It could be, you can take it anywhere: family, business, personal life. What are some of your reflections in 2024? And what are you excited about for 2025?
I think.
That's how we're gonna conclude.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say is self-awareness is my biggest thing for 2024. Kind of understanding that regardless, and that's what I've just seen. Economy changes. It gets
Yes.
really bad. It gets really good, right? But you will still be here, either hot or cold, right? But kind of knowing who you are and personally knowing what you like, what you hate, what you can do, what you could do, and what your challenges are, you will understand that you will persevere regardless, whatever the temperature or whatever the conditions are. So self-awareness of who you truly are. I did have a conversational podcast with my brother-in-law about that, in the world where we live in, where it's like everybody's telling you, you need this, you need this, you need this. But if you don't know what you need, then you're always going to believe what everybody tells you. But if you're self-aware of what you really like or what you hate, then it will be easy for you to be able to say respectfully no or yes and stuff like that. So self-awareness is a big one for me. And your trusted friends will still be here. That's a definite, that's a fact.
Absolutely.
Your families will still be here. That's a fact. So self-awareness was the biggest one for me for 2024.
I love it. And what are you excited about 2025? One word or two words, one sentence. What are you excited about?
I will tell you is how this politics actually kind of go. Man, listen, this is starting to like take over Netflix for me. It's like, okay, so what does politics have in episode 5 today?
War Room be a good one for you. War Room.
Yeah, I would love. I'm telling you, that's why I wrote it down the moment you
it's
said
on, it. It's on Rumble though, because they go crazy sometimes, so they ban them from. But he's a
Yep. So that's
awesome.
my own thing, is kind of seeing how this kind of shakes out for 2025. But yeah, and I got some projects that I'm going for 2025. I'm excited about those too. So
there we go.
So what are some of your reflections?
Reflections. For me, reflection. Two keywords come to mind. One is gratitude, and the second is grit. And gratitude is always, hey, we've been able to go through the full year. Thank God we're in good health. Family's still here, friends are still here. Things are going overall. Hey, every year is gonna have its ups and downs, as Ayo mentioned, but overall, I'm just grateful to start at the year and pretty much be seeing it through. So I lean forward on gratitude to have great health and all that's happened this year. And then the second is just on grit, and Ayo kind of hit on it, but it's like, life is a roller coaster, right? Life is it goes up, it goes down. You have moments where like, man, life can't get no better than this, and then there's moments where like, what is going on?
Right.
Just to be able to have that grit, the ability to persevere and see things through and being able to see it through the year. I'm super proud of that for myself and some of the key relationships that I have. So those are the two key ones for me this year. And if I think about next year, A already kind of stole the thunder there, but it's just the political drama. Right? I want to see the high stakes movement. I want to see how these things are going to shake out and all the drama that we're going to see and the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the different things that's going to happen in business and the politics that maybe we didn't expect. And some we're going to be happen, some we won't be. How do we consider to navigate that? So I'm just excited about the journey ahead.
Yeah. And those are two great points you guys made, Ayo and Toyi. Mine was, I think, the same thing around gratitude. Obviously, last year I was very lucky enough to have Esther was born in November. So this year has been around gratitude, around raising her. Well, just a lot of work. Like the first 3 months, my goodness. Toyi told me that it was going to be tough, but yeah, well, definitely not for the faint of heart. So just raising her, and now she's 13 months old now, and she's talking and walking a little bit. Yeah, so it's just I'm just grateful, because obviously having a baby, it gives you a different framework as a man to think about. Okay, now that I'm a father, because first you're a husband, now you're a father, so it's a different responsibility. How can I be a good father to my daughter? What can I be thinking about? And so gratitude. And in terms of one other word also came back. Not a word, but a couple of words that came to mind was time flew very fast, because I thought it was earlier this year where Toyib and I were thinking about our next property. We bought duplex. Now we're in 2024, and in 2 days later it's going to it's like time is just going fast. So making every second and every minute count with your close friends and family is definitely important for me. And I'm very happy to have Ayo and Toyiba's great confidence. We ride together and we pause. we struggle together. We have a good time together. So I'm very, very happy to have you guys. And it's very, very exciting to have you. Next year, I think the same thing. I'm very excited about obviously how things is going to be very, very fast paced. I'm going to see exactly how things move. And I'm also my biggest thing. I want to see how the media. For me, two things: how does the media treat the administration in terms of how they disseminate information. Also, how does Trump become a leader? There's rumors around he's changed in terms of how leadership, or he's not going to be attacking him. We will see that. So that's that portion of it. Also, what I'm very excited about, I want to see what business are going to be doing. Is hiring going to pick back up again? Like, would that happen in 2026? And how do I, as a capital, how do I capture my market share as a employee in that
Right.
market? Do I, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is the whole economy, global issues
Yeah.
with the war, and it should be exciting. It's definitely going to be
It's gonna
exciting.
be
So
it's gonna be quite a year. It's gonna be quite a
yeah,
year,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
yeah.
So see what Vivek,
Any final
uh,
words? Hmm.
Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk situation
For those
is
folks.
inside of Doge or
Hmm.
something. That would be fun. That will be
It's
fun.
going
It's
to be
high
interesting.
stakes. Get your
It's
get
going
your
to be
popcorn.
interesting.
In the words of Terrell Owens, get
Get
your
your
popcorn
popcorn
ready.
ready.
Get your popcorn ready. Get your
So
popcorn ready.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Any final words before we wrap up?
No, it's an honor,
This
guys.
gets
Getting me
yes.
into Wealthwave Podcast. It's really been great. Outside, we always talk to each other, outside of, the podcast itself. So it's always an honor to always be invited to this, to be able to talk to your viewers. Very much happy that we actually we started this year together, and now we're closing it, right? You guys are doing great work here, and I really appreciate it. And I'm honored to be invited.
We thank you for showing that we've been one of our reliable and consistent guests on the show. So really appreciate your support for us,
No problem.
and we're excited for how next year will look like in terms of the
Absolutely.
guest feature. But again, this wraps up the last episode for the year of the World Wave podcast, and we're very excited, that you stayed with us throughout this whole journey. As always, we strive to feed the mind and challenge the times when it comes to investment philosophies, market insights, and real estate strategies. And we hope that you enjoy this podcast. One of the things that we're going to be doing starting next year is we're going to be having a consistent podcast, meaning that we'll try and record on Saturdays, and then we'll get a podcast to you guys by Tuesday. So please like and subscribe if you want to follow our thoughts and thinking about what is going to happen in the economy, real estate, and also politics a little bit, and also entertainment as well. Like and subscribe on the page below. And we look forward to having you guys next year. Until then, happy holidays and have a wonderful New Year's. Happy New Year's as well. Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.